Thank you, Concorda. I welcome the opportunity to speak on the withdrawal of the UK from the EU bill and hope, like everybody else in this House, that we will not have to rely on it. It's good that we're here debating this issue here today because, of course, if other parties in this House had had their way, we'd all be out knocking on doors this week. Minister, Health is covered in Section 4 of the bill. The Minister for Health being given the power to make an order or orders and regulations under the bill to enable necessary healthcare arrangements to be maintained between Ireland and the UK. The objective here is to support the maintenance of existing common travel area arrangements. This includes continuing current arrangements in relation to health services which are currently in operation between this state and the United Kingdom. For example, access to health services in the UK for persons in the state, access to health services in the state by persons from the UK, and reimbursement arrangements. Continuity is critical, and this is especially true in healthcare. We have a population of 4.6 million people here, and there are approximately 1.9 million people in the north, but there must be close cooperation in order to achieve economies of scale on the island. We may not have enough expertise on either part of the island, but collectively we have a critical mass in the area of rare diseases, not only with respect to the number of people with rare diseases, but importantly of clinicians and specialists who would be able to operate on an all-island basis. We all know that North-South collaboration in the health area is real and that significant benefits can be realised for patients. There are many examples which illustrate the level of cooperation between the North and the South on health issues. Significant projects have been undertaken in recent years and they have made a difference to the lives of patients. For example, the Altona-Galvin Area Hospital Radiotherapy Unit that was completed in 2016. This gives access to radiotherapy services for people in the northwest of the island, including people in this jurisdiction. Other examples of cross-border collaboration include a primary percutaneous coronary intervention services, also known as stenting, in Altona-Galvin. The arrangement allows on-the-go patients to have access to these services on a 24/7 basis. In July 2016, we saw the opening of the hybrid cardiac catheterisation laboratory at Our Lady's Children's Hospital, Crumlin. This laboratory delivers emergency surgery to babies born with congenital heart disease in Northern Ireland as well as in the South. These are excellent examples of how North-South collaboration can produce the critical mass of patients required to make services of a specialist nature viable at a local level. The 2019 HSE Service Plan says that Brexit has potential risk implications for continuity of existing service arrangements and for official controls, in particular the controls of food imports and exports that the Environmental Health Service has legal responsibility to enforce. Is that dealt with in the bill? The Minister might advise. What we don't know, of course, and as I say, hopefully we never will, is what the impact of a no-deal Brexit could be on health. The Lancet magazine has said no deal would cause significant damage to Britain's National Health Service, the NHS. It says there is no good Brexit for the NHS, but that a no-deal scenario, which is what we are dealing with here today, would have negative effects on staff, financing, availability of medicines and vaccines, sharing of information and medical research. Is it possible that the impact of a no-deal on the NHS might have a consequential impact here? I ask this in the sense that the NHS could come under such pressure that it could, despite anything in this bill or legislation in the UK, become more difficult for people in the Republic of Access to access health services in Britain and in the North. I understand that in relation to the cross-border directive in 2017 that 2011 applications were reimbursed, of which 1,741 or 86% access treatment in the UK, and of this number 1,660 access treatment in Northern Ireland. The vast majority of these were outpatient procedures. In relation to the treatment abroad scheme in 2017, it shows that there were 632 approved applications, of which 565 were in the UK, and of this number 20 were in Northern Ireland. There must be a possibility that a no-deal mayhem or bedlam in the UK could impact the availability of these services. We are voting to put the arrangements in place. Can the Minister for Health say what engagement he has had with his counterpart in the UK as to when they will be putting in place reciprocal arrangements? Last month at the Health Committee, the Secretary-General of the Department of Health said in his statement that it is recognised that managing a no-deal Brexit would be an exercise in damage limitation, and it would be impossible in a no-deal scenario to maintain the current seamless arrangements between the EU and UK across a full range of sectors, which are currently facilitated by our common EU membership. What difficulties does the Minister envisage in an event of a no-deal? What damage will he be limiting? The Secretary-General also said that Ireland is unlikely to face serious general medicine supplies issues in the period immediately after 29 March. How long does the period immediately after last? Is it a week, a fortnight or a month? I acknowledge that it may be hard to quantify, but people need to know. Minister, I want to address mental health. The placement of Irish citizens with UK health providers for the purpose of receiving mental health treatment have involved an application on behalf of the HSE to the Court of Protection in London for recognition and enforcement of orders of the Irish High Court. The legal mechanism which facilitates recognition and enforcement of Irish court orders by the UK Court of Protection is under the UK's Mental Health Capacity Act of 2005. This Act in turn gives effect to the Convention of the International Protection of Adults and is the Convention of the Hague Conference of Private International Law, being the World Organisation for Cross-Border Cooperation in Civil and Commercial Matters, or the HCCH. The HCCH is not part of the EU and should not therefore be affected by Brexit. However, I seek clarity. It is my understanding that the mechanism under which children are referred to the UK for mental health treatment is actually done by way of EU regulation and not the HCCH, and therefore may be affected. And I seek the Minister's clarification on this matter. Minister, as long as this government fails to provide appropriate care for mental health patients here in this country, it is critical that any steps needed to be taken are so taken to ensure that the HSE can continue to refer patients to the UK for extra specialised care as deemed appropriate once the UK leaves the European Union. Now, if I may, I want to put my Wexford cap on for a moment. Rossiter Europort is owned by the Fishgarden Rosslare Railways and Harbours Company. Established in 1898 under the UK statutory instrument, its future is effectively controlled by the UK government, which could dissolve the company in the morning if it wanted to. The British may even like the idea of having a port in the European Union post-Brexit. Despite promising to do so, the Minister for Transport has never brought up the ownership with his UK counterpart. When I raised the matter with the Minister for Foreign Affairs, he bizarrely knew nothing about it a couple of weeks ago, in spite of the number of times I've brought it up with him in terms of parliamentary questions. He could probably plaster his office now at this stage with them. It was even covered on the front page of the Sunday Business Post a few weeks ago. He too has not brought the matter up with the UK counterpart. Brexit provides a unique opportunity to resolve the issue of the ownership of Rossiter Europort. It is a strategic national port. The same situation would not be tolerated with Dublin Port or Dublin Airport. So why is it tolerated with Rossiter Europort? Minister Ross himself has admitted that the unusual legal status of the port has often been identified as an inhibiting factor in the port's development. Why have the ministers of this government continuously failed to grasp the opportunity to address the ownership issue of Rossiter Europort with his UK counterparts? Thank you, Count Gorda.